At first glance, this pattern looks pretty complicated, but it really isn't. Like the scarf, I've listed the wool and needles. Now, notice I have 3 new bits here: the square brackets, measurements, and tension. To work out how big you want your glove, we take a look at the measurements and we pick the size of our hand measured above the thumb. Now you can see that this position in the square brackets is the position we want to follow throughout the pattern. For example, if we had 13cm hands, we would require one 50-gram ball, cast on 26 stitches and work 20 rows in knit 1, purl 1, rib. But if we had 21cm hands, we would need two 50-gram balls, cast on 50 stitches and work 20 rows in knit 1, purl 1, rib. The tension sections allows us to check we're knitting the correct tension for the pattern. It tells us that if we cast on 23 stitches with 3 3/4mm needles and knit 31 rows in stocking stitch, 1 row knit, 1 row purl, then it should measure 4 inches. Now this section we're making stitches to allow for the thumb. First thing we need to do is get our 3 3/4mm needles. When it says change, just knit the next row onto the needle and use the 3 3/4 needles from now on. If you read carefully, you can see that this pattern repeats itself every 4 rows after the first 2 rows. First row is a straight knit row. Second row, we knit the first stitch, then purl all the way to the last stitch and knit the last one. The 2 stars here is a pattern marker. On the left glove, we do everything to this point, then follow the left glove pattern. This sort of thing is common in patterns and it stops it from repeating itself. The third row is where it gets interesting. We're making stitches here. M is equal to make. Now pay close attention to the number of knits in between the make stitches on the subsequent rows. You can see we're adding 2 stitches each row. Row 3, make 1, knit 1, make 1. Row 7, make 1, knit 3, make 1. And doing 3 rows, 1 purl row, 1 knit row, 1 purl row. If you are knitting the larger sizes, you need to follow on this pattern past the 11th row until you have the correct number of stitches. The next part of the pattern sections off some stitches for the thumb. We knit past the centre, then turn and purl some stitches, then cast on some more stitches at the end. The pattern diverges here depending on whether we're knitting gloves or mitts. For the glove, we knit the length of the thumb and bind off to a point. For the mitt, we knit for half the length of your thumb and then bind off in rib. With right side facing means we have the darts facing us. The right side is the outside of the garment. We need to pick up the cast on stitches at the base of the thumb, then work the stated amount of rows. The rest of the glove builds on everything we've learned before, so you've now got all the skills to finish it. One final thing to be aware of with patterns is they will probably have their own abbreviations, but with these skills you'll have everything you need to do any garment you like.